local regulations.
Let's now speak to Isaac Newton-Acquah, who is the co-founder of the Innovation Spark, a technology consultancy in Ghana. Isaac Newton, thank you for joining us here on the program. Perhaps let's begin with just how major or how big a deal Starlink is on the continent already.
Well, you mentioned earlier about the outages we had. In March this year, several sea cables were cut. And for several days, nothing that was connected to the internet could work. So having an alternative source, it was definitely a good thing for the country. And we already have some Starlink placed in some hubs in Ghana. So it's already having some traction here on the continent and here in Ghana.
How impactful do you see this becoming?
I think if you talk to a lot of Ghanaians, apart from the cost of the internet, the issue is the limitations and the speed. And if you're trying to do very high-end graphics or communicate to people in the West, you need large amounts of data. So I think it's going to really change the game for companies doing things like IT BPO services, enabling them to connect to the rest of the world without any interruptions.
In some countries like Kenya, local internet providers have been worried that Starlink could put them out of business. Do you see this happening in various countries on the continent?
Yes, I do think it's a risk, but I also think innovation thrives on competition. And with Starlink coming in, the local partners here would have to find new ways to compete and also improve their services. A lot of the internet providers here are making lots of money, but the people here are still complaining about their service. So this will force them to ensure that they're competitive and provide the best service possible.
What do you think makes Starlink different, and especially in the context of our continent?
I think the way it's provided. So most internet providers are using the sea cables. So that's already a limitation. You are at the mercy of the sea cables. If anything gets done accidentally or intentionally, then you're cut from the internet. Starlink, using its low orbit satellites, means that there's very little chance of disruption. They have unlimited data and very high speed. So they might not be for the everyday citizen, but those who are dealing with very mission critical work, or also in very remote parts. I'm sitting here in the capital, Accra, and we do have generally good internet. But if you go outside the capital, it is much harder to have high speeds.
But it's also very expensive. What does this mean as they try to penetrate even the remotest parts of Africa?
Yes, so I think eventually I'm hoping the prices will come down. I think almost like what Elon has done with the Tesla, it was first a very expensive model of cars that he launched. I think the same for Starlink. It'll be more for the larger corporates, the larger companies, the more high net worth individuals that will be using it initially. And those who are doing, whether it's remote work or outsourcing where they can't afford not to have good internet. I think over time, as there's more demand, I can imagine the price will come down.
From where you sit, Isaac Newton, do you foresee Starlink becoming the preferred main internet provider for many people in many of these African countries? Do you see them get to that point?
I do think so. I mean, momentum favors the bold. He has done it in many different industries, in the e-vehicles, becoming the major provider there, with his SpaceX as well. So I don't think it's far-fetched to seeing Starlink becoming a major provider of internet. And because of its unlimited usage, I can imagine that large buildings and large offices will have it for the whole building and then be able to share the internet across. So I just see in time that Starlink will be a major player. We still have some very big companies here, MTN, Telecel, AirtelTigo, but Starlink is definitely one of the names that people will look out for.
Isaac Newton-Acquah, thank you very much for joining us on the program. He's the co-founder of the Innovation Spark, a technology consultancy in Ghana.